Hi everybody. Today the question that we're answering is how to move ahead as a caregiver and leave all of the drama and trauma behind. This takes a little bit of discipline to move ahead. So during this video, I'm going to share several caregiver stories and incorporate some tips on how you can move ahead, whether you are brand new to caregiving, or maybe you've been doing this for some time and you're thinking, man, I want out. Or maybe way at the other end, your caregiving journey has ended and you are no longer a caregiver due to death. I'm Pamela D Wilson. I am a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker who has worked in the field of caregiving and aging for more than 20 years. Please click below, follow my channel, like this video, and comment so that more people can find these videos and support that's over on my website at PamelaDWilson.com. I also do individual caregiving consultations. You can fill out a form on my website to contact me. So we all know that caregiving is wickedly hard work, and it's easy to get in over your head and feel totally overwhelmed by everything that you think needs to be done. Stress can show up in unexpected ways. It can totally change the person that you are. You can be frustrated, angry, feel guilty, filled with worry. Maybe you don't sleep at night anymore. Maybe you dread every time the phone rings. And if you don't deal with these negative emotions, what happens is they move in permanently into your mind, and they stay in your mind. And then you start reliving them and they spin around and you keep repeating it. And the little bit of trauma and drama turns into like major big trauma and drama that you cannot get over. These stories become larger than life and they hold you back from making any type of change or any type of progress in your caregiving life. And so because of all this, caregivers feel stuck, as if you can't plan. And you can't move ahead because you and your participation has put you in this very impossible situation that you feel really guilty if you ever think of trying to change it, or if you ever think of leaving. So if you're a caregiver, and this is reality, right? There's one thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and there's always something else on the horizon that has to be done. That's why you feel stuck. The other reason you feel stuck is because you've kind of been living life on autopilot, right? You respond to this and respond to that, and you don't have a plan, or maybe you're afraid of making a plan because you feel like you've made mistakes and you're not really sure what to do, or maybe you've been out of the workforce for a while and you don't realize that people apply for jobs online now. There's no going or showing up at a physical location. Creating a plan and having the discipline to move ahead can result in positive change, but you have to be willing to prioritize your life and your needs and to get back into a routine if you have eliminated a routine from your life for 6 months or a year or maybe 5 years or 10 years. When you think about it, if you are this caregiver who has no plan, all you do is you respond to one crisis after another, one phone call after another, one need after another. And these are not your needs. You're continually doing something for everyone else and nothing for yourself. So what's happened? Your time, your efforts have become part of someone else's plan. Your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, your sister, your brother. Person you care for, they know you're going to show up. They know you're going to do all this stuff. Because why? Because you have been doing it. Whether or not you agree with it or not, you keep doing it, right? So you're their plan. You are their workhorse. You are the person who does everything and they don't have to lift a finger. It's a great deal for them, but it's not such a great deal for you. They're very happy with their plan. They get all the care they need. But the downside is that their plan probably is not good for you, either short or long term, especially If you feel trapped and your mood has turned negative and the stress and all you can think of is like frustrating things, and rarely do you get any time away, or rarely does your mind go to think anything positive. Also, maybe you got a whole list of health problems. Well, those probably came from the stress of being a caregiver because you never have time to go to the doctor. You never have time to take care of yourself. You never get a break. Add to this, maybe your marriage is on the rocks. Your husband or wife is like, all you want to do is spend time with your parent. You don't want to spend time with me anymore, or the kids. Our marriage isn't important. Or maybe you've lost your job. If this is the situation, then it's time to create a plan. It's time to get out of this rut of madness that is only destroying your life. And I know that's a strong statement, but I know so many caregivers who feel this way, and it's reality for some caregivers. So let me share a couple of stories that may resonate with you. In both of these situations, the family decided that it would be a good thing for aging parents to move into their home. Now, in both of these situations, the primary caregiver is a female. It's the daughter. It's a wife who has a husband and children. Now, first one, mom and dad move in because for whatever reason they don't want to go to assisted living, even though they have the money to pay for assisted living. And so after about 6 months, the daughter's thinking, why don't you guys move to assisted living? I want my life back. But they refuse. In another situation, a parent was living in a nursing home, and there was a decision to put mom or dad on hospice care. And so the family thought it would be much better if mom or dad came and lived in the home. It would be more comfortable. They could provide better care. But do you know what happened? As soon as this happened, the family who thought this should be done disappeared. They dumped all the care on the daughter, on the wife. And the idea was that they wanted to save money. They thought, well, it'd be less expensive to move mom or dad in the home than keep them at a nursing home. But who's going to benefit? The children who inherit the money when the parent dies. The caregiver is going to get sick, tired, and exhausted, which they already are. So in both situations, the female caregiver, who's a daughter or a daughter-in-law, a wife, very angry, very burnt out, and rightly so, because the family made this decision and now they are nowhere to be seen. They're not helping out. All the work has fallen onto the daughter. So in this situation, what is practical? What should be done? Should the daughter call out the family and say, look, we made this decision together. If you're not going to help, I'm out. I'm done. Mom or dad's moving back to the nursing home. They're going to assisted living. I really don't care. I just want my life back. Now, some caregivers will have the mental strength to do that, but most caregivers, they're going to hang in there and they're going to be absolutely miserable. They're going to become negative. They're going to complain about the situation. One caregiver actually stated that the only way out of this situation for her was to have mom or dad die. Another caregiver in retrospect said, oh my gosh, it would have been so much better if they would have went to assisted living. Then we could have visited and we could have had good times and it wouldn't have ruined our relationship. The issue is that when families think of choices, moving loved ones into assisted living, into their home, doing other things, what is rarely considered is the effect of having a person to care for 6 months or a year or 2 years or 10 years. And honestly, who's going to do all the work? How is this shift in attention from a daughter or a son, husband or wife, going to affect the caregiver's marriage and their children and their job and their career? These are things that families rarely, if ever, consider because they don't see the situation getting worse because they lack experience. Or they may feel a great sense of duty or responsibility that, oh yes, I should be that caregiver, without realizing how destructive, how self-destructive this could be. Now, I know there are positive care situations out there. You don't hear those caregivers complaining, right? It's the caregivers who are complaining that have worked themselves into impossible situations. So the question that we should be asking is, in this situation, who is the priority? The priority should be the husband and wife and the marriage, and then the children. And then third on the list is the person who needs care. Because the person who needs care should have made their own plan. They should have worked all this out. They should have saved money. They should figure out who was going to care for them. They should have asked. They should have made a plan instead of making you their plan. And of course you should be angry. You should feel resentful. This is not a great situation. Interestingly enough, some spouses feel like they're stuck in similar situations if there's no children, or maybe children live 2,000 miles away. The interesting thing is long-standing life patterns or marriage patterns don't change when a person experiences a change in health. Now, healthy people honestly experience as many health problems as sick people, or people who've been sick all their lives. A chronic disease like, diabetes or high blood pressure doesn't really pick and choose. It can affect anyone. One day we're all going to have something to deal with. It's how we respond to that illness that makes a difference, and how proactive we've been all of our lives, and if we've been a plan. Because honestly, until something like this happens, most people go through life never thinking about unexpected health issues. And so this discipline to move ahead past all the drama and trauma means you got to make a plan. Whether you are currently a caregiver, whether you're a person who's got maybe just a couple of health problems, or maybe you got a lot of health problems and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to be a burden to my children. What on earth am I going to do? So this gets into the last caregiving situation where this person that you are caring for is going to die, right? And that's going to mean your caregiving days are over. So how do you plan for situations like that? Well, you may be a caregiver for somebody and you get burned out, you get stressed, but you realize, if I don't want to be this way, I got to do something different, right? I got to make a plan. And so the answer is for you to stop being someone else's plan, unless of course you agreed upon that, and make your own plan. So the person you care for dies. You gave up your life, you gave up your job, you got divorced, your children don't like you anymore. Now you're like, my life sucks. I got nothing. So the way to move ahead and plan for all this drama and trauma is to maintain your life when you are that caregiver. Don't give up your friends. Don't give up your job. Set a boundary. I'll help you 4 hours a week or 10 hours a week. Beyond that, we need a different plan, because I'm not going to ruin my life. I need to live my life. I need to save my money. I need to take care of myself so that mom or dad, when I'm your age, I'm not, hopefully, God willing, in your situation. Even though, again, anything can happen. We can all be diagnosed with something tomorrow. So, how do we do this? To create change, caregivers first must change where their mind spends all the time. You got to change your focus away from caring for other people to making yourself a priority, and to being okay with that, not to feel guilty about saying, you know what, I'm important. My health is important. My life is important. My marriage is important. My job is important. My children are important. Now, this can be really hard for caregivers who all of their lives felt that they have to be in service of another person. It can be different for a caregiver who needs approval from other people, right? You need people to say, oh, you're doing such a good job as a caregiver. What a good daughter you are. What a good son you are. And so you keep doing it because you need that positive feedback, right? Rather than saying, I'm doing it because I want to do it, and what anybody else thinks doesn't matter, right? It's also difficult for caregivers to make change in their lives. If you have low self-esteem, maybe you've never lived independently. Maybe, unfortunately, you've been living in your parents' house for 30 or 40 years, and you've never had a job and you're not financially self-sufficient. That is no plan. The more able that all of us are able to take care of ourselves throughout our lifetime, meaning remaining independent of other people because we have a job, we pay our own bills, we went to school, we got a degree, we're in a good marriage, we have good children. The more that you maintain this part of your life, the easier it's going to be not to get swept into an extensive caregiving situation, and easier to get out of that caregiving situation, especially when your parent or the person you care for dies. So all of these life experiences, including the not so good ones, right? A need for approval, low self-esteem. You've never lived independently. You're relying on other people for money. Those are not really good plans because they're not going to work out the way that you think. What's going to happen is you're going to proliferate your parents' problems of being dependent on you. So you were their plan. Now you're looking for somebody else to be your plan. You're looking for your children to take care of you, or a friend, or somebody else. So stop being somebody else's plan and make your own plan. Plan today, not to take on someone else's life, their problems, or their lack of planning. Encourage them to make a plan that does not include you. And for you, make a plan so that you have the financial ability or ways to get care from other people that are limited, so you're not burdening other people with your care. You may have to hire people or move into a care community. And so regardless of your caregiving situation right now, you're just getting into it and you're saying, oh my gosh, this is going to be a problem. Or you're already in it and you're pulling your hair out because you're like, oh my God, this is a huge problem. Or maybe you're at the end and you're seeing mom or dad at the end of life and you're thinking, I have no plan for what happens next. No plan for what happens if they die. And because of all this stress, your mind and your body are just filling up with all these negative things, sickness and negative thoughts. You got to change that pattern because caregivers do become sick or sicker than the people that they care for. Maybe you don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. There may be no happiness in your life at all. It's because the results of your life today are exactly what you think about. They're exactly what you focus on. So until you can make a major shift, your life's not going to change. All you can do is complain about it and complain about it and complain about it. But until you're motivated to do something, anything, nothing in your situation is going to change. The beauty is the focus of your mind, what you think about, where you put your thoughts, is the greatest power that you have. It's the greatest power to change your life. So you've got to stop all those negative thoughts. Focus your mind on happiness and activities that motivate you. Maybe consider looking for a new job or going back to school or spending more time with your friends. Put your mind in happy places and then figure out how to make those happy places happen. Especially when your mind is going to this negative place. You have to have a go-to picture in your mind of what you want, a go-to saying, I release all these negative feelings. They're not part of my life. They don't get to affect me. Problem is, nobody can do this but you. You've got to make that decision, whether you are the person who needs care and you want your life to be better, or you are the caregiver. Now, if you're the person that needs care, having a health diagnosis, it can be a real downer. Your emotions may be up and down and all over the place and you're worried about treatment. And, people who need care, similar to the caregivers, have the same struggle of changing their mind and bringing it to a positive place. So maybe if you're a caregiver caring for somebody, you make a pact and you're like, look, we're not going to talk about negative stuff. We are going to be problem solvers. We're going to be proactive. We're going to get through this and we're not going to let it destroy our lives. I want to mention one other story that a caregiver asked me to bring up, and this is about, being the person who needs care and the caregiver, and doctors recommending treatment after treatment after treatment, and all these kinds of things, right, that take up a lot of time, and they take up a lot of your ability. So there's this concept called time toxicity, toxic time, which means you're spending a lot of time in negative pursuits, going to doctor's offices, going to all this treatment, and the outcome's not going to be any different. So a lot of times physicians can seem like this sales center, right? They want to refer you to another doctor. They want you to have all these tests. They tell you that these tests are going to be beneficial, and they almost make you feel like if you don't do them, something horrible is going to happen. Well, something horrible could happen anyway. This is the place where you have to remember, again, who is in control of your thoughts, who's in control of your actions, and who is in control of you saying yes. In these situations, if you're not asking the right questions, saying, what's the outcome of this test? How do I know that it's going to give this result? How many patients have you had that have made these steps, and what were the outcomes? Because if you don't have an advocate, or if you can't ask these questions, you could end up being in that toxic time drain where you may have a month to live or a year to live, right? And you're going to spend 6 months of that going through treatments and being sick all the time. Again, it's your choice, but do you really want to do that? Sometimes treatments have positive outcomes, sometimes they don't. I've known a lot of individuals who've had cancer and they've gone through chemo and radiation and clinical trials only to die. And they put so much time and energy into all of that, where they could have avoided it, taken a trip around the world, not that their diagnosis is going to change, but came back and then went on hospice care, did comfort measures, and passed away happily with all the memories of the travel and the things that they'd done. So you really have to ask yourself, if you are that caregiver or the person who needs care, is this plan going to make my life better? Am I going to feel better in the time I have left? Or do I want to feel sicker in the time that I have left and then die? I know these are hard conversations to have. You know, sometimes all these medical recommendations are great for the doctors. They're great for the hospitals, right? Because you're their plan. You help them make money. You give them data for clinical trials. But they don't understand the toxicity on your life, or they really don't care because they're not in your shoes. Doctors can be amazing hope builders, when in reality, nobody really can predict with 100% accuracy what's going to happen. Even if you make a caregiving plan, something could happen. You could be sick tomorrow. So the idea is, where do you want to spend your time? Do you want to be happy? Do you want to spend your time in a miserable caregiving situation? Do you want to spend your time chasing treatments that may or may not work out? I know there's a lot of decisions to make, and nobody wants to talk about dying. All this is they're very scary topics to address, especially if you are the person whose life is affected by all these health problems, or you are the caregiver who's watching this happen, and you're scared to death to lose your parent or your brother or your sister. Honestly, it takes a lot of thoughtfulness and a lot of decisions to move out of this drama, trauma life. Get your legal needs in order, medical, financial power of attorney, living will. Get your final wishes taken care of. Do you want to be buried or cremated? Have you put what you want in care in writing so that people know? The more you plan in advance, the more freedom you have when things happen, because you're going to be like, well, I got a plan. It's on paper. It's written down. I've talked to people about it. I know what's going to happen, and I know what I want. That gives you power. It also allows you to live out your retirement dreams, if at all possible. Now, I know many couples whose retirement dreams were dashed by a spouse getting sick. Do you really want your spouse to be your 24/7 caregiver? Or do you want your spouse to go out and enjoy part of their life even though you can't anymore? It's really about what's best for everybody in a care situation, not just what's best for the person who's sick. And again, if you're sick and you're feeling needy and you're feeling abandoned, it can be really hard to think positively and to consider the lives of others and what they're giving up to take care of you. Caregiving lasts for years. It doesn't get easier. It becomes more time-consuming and more demanding and more financially expensive as we age. So if you haven't thought about a retirement plan or a care plan or saved money, you might be at a real disadvantage. But the beauty is, you have today, you have tomorrow, you have next week, hopefully, to work up a plan to work a way out of a stressful caregiving situation, to make a plan for the rest of your life, to make a plan for potentially being that person who needs care. Again, the way that you think today becomes your future. Find the discipline to stop being somebody else's people plan. It's possible with the right mindset. But all in all, you want to be realistic and have realistic conversations with the people in your life, because you can't create a plan if you don't talk to people about your plan. Some of you may have to stand up to family members who you are their plan, and they're not going to want you to change because everything you're doing makes life so much easier for them. You may have to set your feelings aside, set your guilt aside to prioritize your life. The only way to get rid of this drama and trauma is to move on and to bring more of what you want into your life. I'm Pamela D Wilson. I thank you so much for being here. Again, please like this video, follow my channel, comment, share this with other people that you know who are looking for hope, help, and support. I thank you for being here, and I will see you all again very soon in another video.